Hey, welcome to your Time In podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Shepard. I'm also the founder of your coaching company. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your day to join us. Your time in is about checking in back into life. Okay. So whether you taking a break from something that you always wanted to do, or there's a dream that you want to start and you're struggling to start it, this is the podcast for you. Break time is over. Let's jump in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Your Time In podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Shepard. Thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to today's episode here, Dare to Hear. So, on today's episode, we're going to be discussing a journey that Kayla Sims went on. And I know Kayla for a little over a year and a half. We met at her old place of employment, and she has since then surpassed and done great things. And she's launched something that I think is pretty cool with her business. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Kayla.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me, Adrian.
Thank you for coming on here.
Of course.
If you would take a couple minutes or a couple seconds or minutes and just introduce yourself so everybody knows a little bit about you. Um, I'll prompt some of the journey stuff, but if you want to go ahead and give an introduction and introduce your business and what it is that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm Kayla, and I am the co-founder with my husband of Compassionate Mind Coaching and Counseling. He's the counselor, and I'm the coach. He also provides meditation services as well. So that's what we are currently working on and building up our practice here. We are partnered with a counseling group called Restorative Wellness. And so this is a bunch of counselors and therapists. So we're connected with them. And the partnership has gone pretty well. So that's, I live with my husband and we have a dog. So I don't think she'll be making an appearance tonight, but we decided to take the leap, and he's been doing private practice counseling for a couple years now, full time. And he has experience in like the ER and all sorts of counseling. And so it was always kind of our dream to have a practice together and really make a business. We didn't know that we were going to do it as soon as we did. We were fortunate that it kind of worked out. But we had always thought that like we were just going to have we had dreams of doing like a wellness thing. But that didn't come until later in life. I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was pretty lost. Yeah.
I feel like though before anybody starts like out on their journey, they're lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a saying, and I'm gonna butcher it, but it's the first steps. The journey of 1,000 steps begins with the first step, or 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And I think that's a whole part of the journey is not understanding, how long it's gonna take or when you're gonna start, but just having an idea in your head and then just pushing yourself to start. So I want to commend you on that.
Thank you.
Because I feel like that's the starting block for everybody. That's the norm. And then it takes special people though to then go ahead and pick that foot up and then take that step forward.
Yeah. It was just kind of like when I found it, I knew. And then it was almost this like, well, how could you not know this? This is what you were doing this the entire time. How did you not know that this is a thing? And so when I found that it was a thing, it was just like the magic happened, right? It just took over you, and it didn't feel like work. It felt like something you were meant to do.
That's a feeling that a lot of people don't get, right? Like
Yeah,
that
no.
that feeling right there is it's a hard to come by feeling, but once you find it, you have to figure out a way to hold on to it and then stay true to it.
Yeah. And it was to the point where like I knew that, I'm not that old. So I was like, I have hopefully a lot of years left that I can look for it. But there was always that concern that like maybe I'm not gonna find it. There was nothing that felt truly passionate about.
Mm,
Can you still hear me? I'm just gonna have to do it with
absolutely.
one. Okay, earbud fell out. So I'll just do it with one. But yeah, so I was like, I have no idea, what it is that I'm meant to do. I can find satisfaction in in anything that I was doing, any job that I took on, but I never felt fulfilled, and I never felt that like this excites me. This is what I want to do, because it was always about the people.
mm,
You could put me into any place, and as long as I had good people around me, I was excited, and I did my job. It was never about the job itself. It was about the people. Um, and then when I was in jobs that not great people, or I didn't have that connection, it was rough, because not only was I like not excited about my job, but I was like, I have to see these people that I don't
I,
really
f-
want to
I,
see.
I f- I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that part. Like, like we all have to work to make a living, no matter what line of work you're in, there's something that you have to do to provide some type of income. Okay. Like if you're a social media creator, great. If you're flipping burgers, good job. If you're changing auto parts out, like congratulations. But that uncomfortability of having that kind of hostile work environment, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that enough. Um, where you may feel some type of way each and every time you have to go to work, or each and every time that you even wake up in the morning, and so kudos on that, and highlighting that environment. So today's podcast is called From There to Here. Okay. So we heard you're here. Where was the there? Like where did this journey to you and your husband launching this business and getting partnered, like where did that journey begin?
Yeah, so really you could say that it started right out of college. So I grew up in Indiana. Shout out to my Hoosiers out there. And when I finished college with a bachelor's degree in psychology, I had a choice to make. Either I find a job that was probably not psychology related, but knowing that it was helpful that I understood it, or go back to school. And I wasn't ready to go back to school. I had just finished 4 years of college, that I was like, I need a break. I need to figure out what the real world and all that stuff. And so, knowing that that was 2009, not a lot going on.
Yeah.
It was like, you're doing minimum wage, which is nothing wrong, but it was like, why did I get a college degree for to come out and then have to work minimum wage. And then I eventually I came out to Maryland. So within a year of graduating, I came out to Maryland. I had family. My mom grew up in Baltimore.
Okay.
So I came out here, and I lived with my aunt and uncle for about 6 months. And I came out for the job, so I wasn't coming out and searching. I came out because my aunt helped get me a position within a contracting company. And so I'm like, I started out in IT. I was like, I cannot be further from psychology. Like, how did I end up in a job that is like, okay, you're going to help people with their computers and figure out their issues. And we all know that 90% of the time,
What
it's not about the computer, it's
it's a
about the person who can't work the
would
computer.
would you have imagined though, like the whole time you're getting your psychology degree, right? Would you have imagined that step, that next step in your road, which is like, I feel like in undergrad, that's what happens to a lot of people. Is like we have these big dreams of like what we're gonna do in our major, and then we can never secure or find a job in our major in the time, and then it's like you end up doing something that just required a degree, not anything
Yeah.
utilizing any like part of the brain that you just mastered and developed and like routinely did. And so, you find yourself doing the IT work, and then like how did that kind of sit with you and motivate you to your next change?
Yeah. So thus started this working within the federal agency business, right? So for then 12 years, um, I guess I should say it was closer to about 10 years, that I'm searching and I'm trying to utilize psychology in every single position that I get into. Like, okay, IT is what I have to do. Psych is what I get to do. so, so mindset, right? I'm having
Yeah.
the mindset of something's going to come along. I know that psychology, but psychology is so broad that my school didn't even and my undergrad school didn't even say that there were all these different opportunities to use to advance with your psychology degree. They said if you want to be a therapist, you need to get your doctorates. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as many of us know, I'll say it anyway. There, you can go through social work and get clinically licensed. You can do psychology and get clinically licensed, all at the master's level, or you can do a PsyD at there are many options. But I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. I thought I had to go directly into a PhD program. That said, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to use psychology, so let me just implement it in I almost had given up. There were spurts that over the years that I said, well, maybe I should just go back to school. And I was like, I can never really give my full, there wasn't anything that really excited me about that.
Yeah.
Not enough, right? And so I go from IT to, let's see, the next one is right. The first couple were IT jobs, and then I go to a coordination, and that was the closest I'd ever come to psychology, and that was working with Army psychologists.
Okay.
And so I was working in the field, right, and I was getting to do these to help with assessments. But I'm not the psychologist, right? I'm that go-between. So, but I'm getting that fix, that little bit of like, yes, this is dealing with human emotion in a sense.
It's like a little booster energy just to keep you kind of motivated.
Just enough.
Yeah. Shots to the moon.
Yeah. So, but then that contract ended, and so I needed to find another job, and that's what brought me to the agency that I just ended with. And in every place, I tried to discover what was their training and education. What did that look like at each of the places that I've been around?
Yeah.
Whether it was with my company or an agency that I was with, what did that look like? What are my options? What's out there? So I'm doing my job. I'm doing it well. I'm doing, I'm giving everything that I've got, and I'm still wanting that piece, right? And I'm always meeting new people wherever I'm going, and that's feeding that, like, okay, I can do whatever, but I still like to meet people and still understand the type of people who are working here, all that fun stuff. And then I find my people, when you find your people, right? And
your core group
you just find people you connect with, like, we like doing this within our realm. And I found that with my last job, right? But I didn't get to work with them immediately because I wasn't a civilian. So I wasn't able to, so I'm making these connections. I'm finding the people that I enjoy, that and so without getting too much into the details, I end up, I keep going, and finally I get the civilian. I'm like, I know where I want to be. I see it. I know exactly where. And I got a coach. Fancy that, right? And it made such an impact, and I had no idea just how much at the time.
I feel like right after that I met you.
Right? It was a couple years.
Oh, okay. So you were Okay, you're at when you went from contractor to Govy, not when you
Hmm.
got okay.
So right when I got Govy, I got a coach because I knew the group, I knew what it was about, but I hadn't had one yet. And so I was like, I'm gonna do it. And you do not know coaching until you have a coach. I'll
I
just put
feel
it
like
that way.
I feel like well, I also always say too, like every good coach has a coach because
Yeah.
it's one of those things that like well if you're listening to this and your job has an internal coaching program, you should take advantage of it. If your job doesn't have an internal coaching program, please hit up myself or Kayla and we will let you know how you can use coaching for professional development and have your job possibly sponsor that training for you. But it's one of those things that coaching opens up the doors to yourself that you have shut that you don't even know are shut, and then in turn that opens up other opportunities to do other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Adrian. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Uh, it's life changing. It truly is. Especially for me, right? Because that's when I experienced it, I was like, well, that's going on my plan, right? That's
This is what I
exactly
want
what
to
I want to
be.
do.
Yeah.
In 3 years, this is where I'm going. I did it in a year and a half.
Uh,
I got back to my people. It was wonderful. I loved it. And on top of that, I got to not only coach, but I also got to learn the certifications, get certified in leadership assessment, and I found my second love of being able to coach leaders.
yep.
So not just everyday people, all regular employees, and anyone and everyone, but specifically leaders, and using assessments to help shape what they want their leadership vision to be. And that was really fun. That was really cool. So I carried those assessments with me. I also work with Tetramap, right? So communication styles. So if you want your teams to it's like a team building activity.
Yeah.
You're learning about yourself and you're learning about your teammates and the way you communicate, and then hopefully be an effective team. Um, and then coaching into that, and being able to coach your team through that and what you want to achieve and accomplish. I absolutely love it. So I got these certifications, and I was like, yes, I'm good to go. This is me. This is what I want to do. So up until this point, until I found that this was me and this was my calling, right? I have got my calling cards. So calling cards, this is me. I did it on myself, and I was like, imagine that. Okay, so I find my calling, and I'm like, up until then, I would sit down with my husband because I was never satisfied with what I was doing. Right, I was still constantly looking and searching. And before I got into the coaching program, I decided to go back to school for my master's. So
Mm.
COVID hit, COVID hit in the spring, and just before the fall semester, I applied and got in. And
That's good.
I was originally gonna do IO psychology, industrial organization psychology, and I got in. And halfway through the semester, I was like, realizing that all my classmates were trying to get my job.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, this was not coaching. This was like human capital stuff, which is what I was
Yeah.
doing. I was doing more of the administrative piece, and like they're
Mhm.
wanting to do that. And I'm like, why am I going to school to do what I'm already doing? I was like, I'd see no change. And then
Yeah.
and I was fortunate enough and was able to switch over into the mass and to the because it was applied psychology. You could do IO track, or you could do the counseling.
Mhm.
So I was fortunate enough to be able to switch over to counseling.
That's good.
And so I'm still in it. I had to take a break this year with
Breaks are
everything
good.
going on.
We
Yeah.
encourage breaks. Um, but on this podcast too, we also encourage checking back in. So,
Yes.
when is your break gonna be over?
Next spring. So I'm going to go
See,
back in. Yeah. So I just took a little bit of a break
I feel like
as a reset.
I feel like that's the important thing to do is like whenever you're gonna take that break, you have to set aside the timeline for the intent of starting or picking it back up or cutting it
Yeah.
off altogether because things happen, people change, you change, life changes, and it changes your trajectory. And it's important to honor that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to get so stuck in an idea that that's the only thing you've captured and that's the only thing that you put yourself in that box. And it's just you and that idea. That doesn't allow creativity. It doesn't allow freedom of movement. It doesn't allow life. Like, that thing just boxes you in with that one thing. And so I think when you hit that pause button, the other finger is on the fast forward button, and then you need to see where you want to go. And then when you're ready, you push the play button again, and then you already know kind of where you're gonna go. So if you've done all of that, right, and then you're in your position, I want to know what was the hardest thing about leaving the job you had right before you launched your business?
Oh, easily the financial piece. It was like, can we do this? How many conversations did we have of like weighing like um is now the right time?
Right. It's like a cost.
Is my mental health worth um the price? Balancing that. And I said, and it got to the point where I said, I'll take a barista job, even if just to get
Something.
out,
Yeah, it's like you'll
you
supplement.
know?
You have to supplement your goal and your dream until your dream can carry you. So it's like it doesn't. If this is what it takes to afford me the opportunity to be where I want to be, then I don't mind doing that, enduring
Mm-hmm.
that, and eventually that fades and I can do what it is that I want to do and be happy doing it as well. I think that the financial piece stops a lot of entrepreneurs. it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you have to take it in consideration because it has a huge impact.
Yeah.
And it's something that definitely may not stop you, but it's definitely going to pump them brakes. You're definitely going to be brake checking a lot of people out there while you're trying to figure out whether or not you can make that leap. um, and I think I want to commend you for making the leap because I think that I know your situation without going into like the details and everything, and I feel like the level that you were and what you were being asked to do weren't matched, and so it's one of those things that you can always maybe make the U-turn as long as you don't burn the bridges and shoot. Hey, listen, if you burn bridges in your life, just because you burned the bridge doesn't mean you can't go back when you're a different person or they're a different person or whatever changes happen and rebuild the bridge together. So listen to that, what I'm saying. Like, you can rebuild a bridge together with someone. Don't expect them to put the bridge back up because you're the one who made it catch fire. Or if they made it catch fire, you can't be like, hey, you need to build this bridge. You have to build that bridge together. It can be done though. So I just want to encourage anybody, like, if you feel like, I burn bridges with career, with people, whatever. If there's something in you that's telling you want to make that U-turn, then you have to be willing to do the work. And part of that work is a partnership.
Absolutely, and that's absolutely a great point. I just always have that question for myself and for my clients. I say, what does this make possible?
Yep.
What does this make possible? So yes, you may have burned a bridge, but what does that? What's the opportunity for another bridge elsewhere? Where do you see it? It doesn't have to be the same bridge. Um, open up yourself to everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, listen. And you get in a paddle boat and go across the river. Did you even need a bridge in the first place? Like,
right?
like, where are we? Let's
That paddle
picture,
boat made my arms stronger,
right?
and
Like,
therefore,
it's a good opportunity for visualization exercise. Where
yeah,
is the bridge? What does it look like around the bridge? Like, can we go under it? Can we go over it? Can we go around it? Like, do we
yeah.
need it?
Do we
Or
even need it?
yeah,
Yeah,
so I think that that's after you you've made a decision. It's important to know that all decisions are not finalized. You are going to make some final decisions in your life, but that doesn't mean that every decision you make is a finalized decision. And as you develop, it's important to keep checking in with yourself and seeing and staying true to yourself, and making sure that those doors are closed because they need to be closed and that you don't want to revisit them. And then some doors are cracked and there's a reason why they're cracked. Okay. And I just encourage everybody to explore, because with Kayla doing everything that she did, she was able to launch a practice with her significant other where they
Yeah.
do both coaching and counseling, which is awesome. Because I know we had talked, and that's one of the rare things to be able to do, is to have a business that does both. Um, and so I want to commend you on actually taking that step and that leap and going out there and
Thank
doing it.
you.
So how are
I
you
could
finding?
not have done it without the support of my husband. I have to give
Oh, absolutely.
him so much. Like, he said, do it. You got this. We'll make it work. Like, he believes in me. He believes in us. And yeah, I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, strong support systems make the impossible possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely kudos to your husband on that, and for supporting you, and for you, recognizing that support, leaning in on that support, because
Yeah.
sometimes people don't want or don't know how to accept that support. I would say that when you're offering support to others, you have to be okay with letting it go. Okay, and so the way that sometimes you want to show up for people is not the way that people need you to show up for them. And you have to be okay with that. So if it's two sides to offer and support, you have to be able to offer the support, but then you have to also be able to come back and meet them where they need the support. Okay.
Absolutely.
So how, what is the vision of compassionate mind coaching and counseling? Like what is the vision?
I'm so glad you asked. I'm actually getting ready to launch um, with everything that we are trying to incorporate. We want to make sense. We're you know trying out new things, seeing what works. What do we need to modify? So with that, we're going to be launching what's called Connected Leadership. And so it's going to be our leadership brand, and that is going to offer our executive coaching, our assessments, and our workshops are going to be our biggest ones. And so stay tuned. We're getting ready really, really soon to be able to launch that. And that's a little bit separate from Compassionate Mind. Um, all run by the umbrella of Compassionate Mind, but in its own separate entity. Because Compassionate Mind is going to focus on that wellness. It's going to focus on life coaching and health and wellness, which is a huge part of what really excites me. I love working with people who are looking to implement more health and wellness um, habits and routines in their life. But that's a little different from your executive and leadership stuff. And I love all of it. And I want to be able to um, provide as much service as I possibly can. I've been blessed to have the certifications that I have, that I don't want them to go to waste. I love them so much that I needed to figure out a way to still be able to offer it and not it feel so convoluted and not know what my brand represents.
And
So we have two.
where can people find out more information about Compassionate Mind?
Yes. So we have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, and our website is www.compassionatemindcc.com. You can also email me at kayla@compassionatemindcc.com. And I can answer all your questions regarding coaching, counseling, and meditation. Hopefully, soon we'll be offering those on a regular basis. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And then we have the connected leadership, and I'll be able to talk more on that. So
All right. Well, thank you for coming on today, Kayla. I
Thank
appreciate your
you.
time and for you coming and sharing that journey with us. And I look forward to the branch out of the other journey as well with the connected leadership. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. And 30 minutes went by so fast.
Time flies. All right, everybody. Thank you for kicking it with us today. Your Time In podcast. Fortunate enough to have Kayla join us. Um, we will be live again next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be joined by a game developer, Caroline Guevara, who happens to also be my sister-in-law. Ba-da-boom-ba-ba. But looking forward to having her on here. Hopefully, we can encourage more women to get into the line of work that she's doing, and for more men to be receptive of the fact that they're in there and they ain't taking no names, they ain't taking no prisoners, and they in there just doing the thing. Okay. So thank you for rocking it with us. Trey, as always, bro, I appreciate you always coming through, always kicking it with us, always supporting your time, man. I can't wait to have you on here, Trey. So let's link up, let's get together, let's make that happen. Everybody, this has been Your Time In. Break time's over. It's time to check in.